Welcome to Top Shelf Tech. Today we've got Alex Burke, CEO of Education Perfect, joining us. And Alex, I believe you're joining us from Sydney today.
I am, Jeremy. Yeah, good to meet you.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome along. Firstly, Education Perfect, bit of a Kiwi tech success story. 12 years old, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit of the history of the organisation?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the company started 12 years ago, as you say, by two brothers. They were studying at Otago Uni, and they were studying languages. And at that point, they wanted to. They felt there was an opportunity to use technology to actually help their learning. So that in those days, that was clearly for them. It was a vocabulary list, and is there some way that they can use kind of automation and technology to learn? So that was the start of it. They reached out to the government and they got a $20,000 business loan to get going, and so that was the beginning of the journey, really. And then the business has evolved. About sort of 4 years later, it started to move out of New Zealand and into Australia. Initially, the business was called Language Perfect because it was languages focused. But about 6 years ago, it changed to Education Perfect, and that was basically a move from not just providing language focus kind of content, but they moved into sort of science and maths and English, and ultimately a sort of a full school solution.
Awesome. And so the business has changed a bit, growing out of language into doing full curriculum, online assessments, and learning. It's growing globally. So it's I guess cool in that regard. Is the company still growing? And if so, how's that going for you guys?
Yeah. So we're still going. So the business overall is growing around 50% year on year. Our Australia, New Zealand business is probably still going around 40%. And internationally now, we're growing over 300%. So we've actually, even just this year, we've gone from 17 countries in the world to, close to 80. So we've seen a big growth. And I think that's just the technology ultimately is, it's like a toolkit for teachers. And more now schools and teachers are looking to use technology to kind of enhance the classroom.
So 12 years ago, the technology that you had at your disposal to build and scale a platform and deliver it globally would have been quite different.
Today, very difficult.
Yeah, and so how's that sort of helping you guys and your growth ambitions today?
Yeah, it's been an interesting move. I think, in the early days, it was very sort of traditional physical server sitting in New Zealand. And obviously, as you start to grow, it becomes, very, very difficult, right? Because you've got kind of latency issues and speed and availability issues. So our cloud journey actually started about 7, 8 years ago. And we moved to AWS. And that's, it's sort of now all encompassing. I think we use about 40 or so services from AWS now, encompassing lots of things. But I think, for us as a business that is growing and going into new markets, having that sort of cloud infrastructure just allows you to have, good visibility of what's going on, and then enables you to sort of ensure that you get, the high availability that's kind of expected from a top class technology provider.
And how important is that to your customers, being able to say to them, look, we may be a New Zealand company, but we're built on AWS. We're able to deliver services to you, in your location, have high availability, those sorts of things. What to the educators, to the schools, does that matter to them?
Absolutely, it's super important. I think particularly in the recent times as well through COVID, there's a lot of kind of uncertainty with technology, and I think a lot of schools as well. When all the schools were sort of closed and disrupted, it was a real sort of step into the unknown for a lot of schools that hadn't really been across technology or even been across some of the technology decisions. If you think about it, though, for any organisation, particularly with schools, it's the availability is really important, and so to sort of risk mitigate against that uncertainty is super important. And it's been actually a big reason why schools have trusted us in the fact that we are able to sort of provide our service 24/7.
One thing from my time working with the education sector that really stuck with me was a comment that basically teachers, if they were kicking off a lesson and they couldn't get it working within 30 seconds on a digital platform, they'd essentially abandon and have to go back to something paper-based. So that ability to have, I guess, intuitive systems that are reliable, from my understanding of the education sector, it's a huge confidence piece as well. There's quite a shift. A lot of teachers, to moving digital technology, changing, the curriculum practices that they've had. And so that ability to say, yep, it will work consistently, be performant and that kind of stuff, I understood to actually be kind of the make or break often for schools trying to roll out these sorts of changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Our mission is around humanizing technology. I think one of the interesting things when you go into education is that, modern education, as it's known, is over 20 years old. And actually the education system is pretty traditional in how it works. And I think, the adoption of technology is a bit of a transformation journey, really, for schools, for teachers in classrooms. And with that, you do need to, build trust with them. We kind of see ourselves as trusted advisors, not only, providing capability of technology to allow them to do lots of things, but also the technology integrity around the availability of the systems. But then for us, probably the most critical piece to that then is the human touch of just kind of helping and guiding, giving them a network and a support, a professional development support area as well that helps to sort of lead teachers through this digital journey.
So with that, we saw a lot of industries really accelerate the use of remote learning or remote sort of platforms for delivering business solutions, whatever, through COVID. Did you have schools and teachers reaching out to you guys through that period to say, how do we use this platform more? How do we actually get on board? How do we accelerate what we're doing? Because actually we need to, and we need to do it. We kind of need to have done it yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. We did over the COVID journey. I mean, for us, it started actually Chinese New Year. So initially we had Chinese schools reaching out, before any of the Kiwi Australian schools reached out. So started in January, and we had over 500,000 extra students using the platform during that time. So it was big, and we offered the platform for free. So we're really proud of the fact that we supported a lot of schools that hadn't really used technology before. I think it was really interesting. Obviously, we were right at the front face, but even the concept of a video call was alien to a lot of teachers. They just hadn't done any of that, and so it was a big move out of people's comfort zone, really. And there was there was a lot of anxiety around not just being able to connect and run class, but getting student feedback and progress, and all those elements were front of mind. So
ramping up 500,000 students and being able to give away your service for a period of time there, did that impact your infrastructure? Did that
absolutely big time? Yeah, 100%. So it was really interesting. One was, and this is where technology and the cloud is so important. One was we were observing and looking at usage data on a almost hourly basis to track to see what was happening. So almost to play the mitigation. We made 3 upgrades to our technology over that period. And it was a bit of a strategic play, really. We could see that there was traffic. Like one small difference was our behaviors normally on a school day were our usage would start, say, around 10 a.m., which was probably, you think, that was sort of post-assembly, people getting going, etc. We were getting traffic jumps up from 7:30, which was probably then parents logging in, getting them set up preschool, and those sort of behaviours really alter how you manage your product. So for us, it was really it was almost a risk mitigation policy at the beginning to just spot where we needed to make upgrades, and it was. It was something that we had to do, but usage went up, support inquiries went up, inquiries about the business went up. We got a lot of extra usage and engagement over that period.
So bringing this back to, Kiwi company, New Zealand's obviously had some ambitious goals around online assessments by 2020, and I guess generally speaking, just ramp up in use of digital technology in schools. There's been a number of programs around that. Where does New Zealand sit on the spectrum globally from what you guys observe? Do we need to, as a country, are we using this technology to its full extent? Do we need to be doing more? Is there more opportunities out there for us to redesign, I guess, elements of our education system to be more effective for the digital age?
Yeah, I think definitely New Zealand and the education brand in general is very strong, I would say, globally. Like when we've been reaching out into Asia and Europe, and you say, we're a Kiwi business and we're going global, that's all very well, that's really well received. So I think the baseline of the education system is in really good place. But there's so much opportunity around leveraging digital. And I think it's still very much in its infancy, I would say, just in terms of really the opportunities. I mean, we don't see technology taking over the classroom. We see it working hand in hand. And if you think about areas around automation, engagement, using it for differentiation, which is one place where our technology really plays well. So, the ability for learners, students being able to take a different journey based on how they're adapting, how they're working. There's so much potential there. And I think really we're at a point where, we just want to continue to evangelize really about what's there, look to see where technology can improve some of the pain points. And, one of the impacts of COVID, and I know a lot of parents will know this, I mean, the parent community has never been more engaged in education now, because we've been exposed to what was happening during homeschooling. And I think that's a big opportunity as well to leverage, and hopefully the government will, extend out to the business community to make sure that we adapt it and grow NZ education.
Awesome. That sounds great. We're in a great place. Our brand's recognised globally, and there's some opportunities in front of us as well. It's good. It sounds like a good place to be. Look, thanks for joining us, Alex. Any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
No, I think for any business that's sort of considering to go global, I think it's really important that you pick your partners well. I've learned over the years that a partnership ecosystem is super important, and you need to leverage different technology platforms to do that. And so I think, do your research, and there's plenty of options as well around pricing and service offering as well. So I think do your homework there, and if you get the right kind of partners, you can grow quickly. And I think EP's in a fantastic place to become a dominant player globally is our goal. And it'd be great to kind of take Kiwi tech out to a global stage like companies like Xero. That's our ambition.
Yeah, absolutely awesome ambition to have as well. Cool. Well, thanks again for joining us, Alex. Thanks to our audience for joining us as well. Hopefully that was interesting for you, and we'll catch you next time on Top Shelf Tech.